I can have a hand for my beer too. Let's talk about priorities.
I have a tripod monopod. If we can figure out a way to bracket your
No, we're just gonna
tablet,
redo Ryan's clothing shelves. I feel like I want to buy him a little baby dresser.
Hello, Cascadia Soccer podcast will be starting momentarily. Wait, how is this going to work? You gonna hold it? Can you do both?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you guys are gonna have to help me with.
Look at all the hearts! Look at all those hearts! Thank you, heart ding.
I can have a hand for my beer too.
Whoa!
Hi y'all, how you doing? We love you. Thanks for joining our crappy attempt at
Is that good?
And I'm sorry I'm here.
We're really happy he's here. Hi Nicole. Would like to thank Michael's wife. She'll be running the social media stuff, Twitter, and she's also holding the iPad for the Periscope because we couldn't find a good angle. So here we are. Welcome to episode 5. You'll notice that this is not Ryan. He is on the East Coast doing East Coastian things, but he said we could use his room. So I put up a Liverpool scarf. Michael has very nicely filled in as co-host. He was here last week. Karin is again our winner for NWSL FL. She was the winner of week 1 and is tied. I don't know how. Thank you, you person. We already have. What's happening?
It's a little brighter.
I feel like the YouTube looks pretty okay because of your webcam.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it looks pretty okay. If you guys are checking us out on Periscope, you might just want to check out the YouTube. It's a few minutes behind, but the quality is A+ because Michael brought his webcam over. Okay, so let's start with the games of the week. Let's start with, since we're Cascadia and Thorns didn't play, let's start with Seattle, Washington. Surprising because Washington has looked really good so far, and Seattle has looked not so good so far.
Since the first game. They looked good that first game.
They did look good that first game. It was like, I felt like the first half I watched with like one eye on the game and one eye on work, but the first half was pretty even, and I feel like the second half really Seattle just took over, and obviously broke open the game with Jess Fishlock's goal. That was kind of lame.
Yes.
Was it Jess Fishlock's goal, or was it the third goal? Whoever scored the third goal.
And there was a suspect back pass to the keep that should have made it an easy 4-1 game, but they were not unable to capitalize. That would have been a rating 60-something. I can't quite remember. Either way, great showing by them.
Yes, it looks like Seattle is back on form. Looks like the hope that all Portland fans had that Seattle would implode is not coming to fruition. But Washington's a really good team. I have them as a possible playoff contender. So definitely the fact that Seattle beat them so handily 3-1 in a pretty solid second half just shows that, yeah. And Kansas City dominated Houston. Again, another team that looked not so great the first few weeks, and then they just beat up on poor Houston.
No Brian, Stephanie Osh's injury. I don't know. They
yeah.
obviously don't have anything they can do to get the ball to McDonald. Short of the long ball, they did the last 30 minutes or so.
That fits with what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Houston's biggest problem is going to be their lack of midfield. When they don't have Lloyd and they don't have Morgan Bryan,
right?
Who's going to get the ball to Jess McDonald and
exactly
for them to score? And it showed.
And yeah, definitely. Was it Carly Lloyd that got an own goal? Was that right?
She did get an own goal last week.
Oh, last week.
It was
You're
last
right,
week.
You're right.
They didn't play this week, but
yeah, and I think, gosh, that's a bummer for them that they got Och. I don't know how to say her name. I know her face, but I don't know how to say her name.
OCHS. I can spell it.
I'd say Oaks personally.
Oaks.
But I could be wrong.
ACL tear. Terrible.
Oaks and Oaks.
Yes.
So we have a comment.
What is our comment, Rachel?
The comment is that Houston was struggling in the last match. They had Lloyd and Brian. That's from Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. Always looking out. Yeah. They were definitely good at being invisible, I thought, because Houston didn't really do too much.
No, they look.
They look like the Houston of last year, just kind of not terrible, but not great. I think a lot of Houston fans are disappointed because for the first 2 weeks they looked really solid, and they have some great names on their team. But yeah,
that kind of seems to be the story of the season, though. You have teams that look great one week and then they don't show up the next.
Yeah, I mean, it's way different than last season. I mean,
Yeah.
besides the Thorns, who are, wishy-washy the whole season. I mean, but Seattle and Kansas City were so great the whole season. And the first 3 weeks, they were really back and forth. So, yeah, definitely a different season, which I guess is good. I mean, it keeps the competition alive, for
It's
sure.
true. You never have, any given week, you have no idea what's going to happen, at least not at this point.
Yes. And how great, Boston and Western New York to transition to that game. I thought that game would be super boring, but that ended up being one of the more entertaining games. Good for Western New York for getting their first win. It was the clash of them U.S. sisters, where baby Mewis came out on top.
Yeah.
She got a goal. And the win. Good for her.
It was nice seeing LaRue not trying to be the target 9 the whole time, trying to pass off, get it forward, get it center.
And she actually got a goal out of it.
And she did. Yeah, she looked much better this game. Man, what does Boston have to do? Let's talk about how terrible Boston's doing, and how it's the right theme of this show is we love Allie Long and we hate Boston. Well, we don't hate Boston.
We feel sorry.
We feel sorry for Boston.
We hate Seattle.
We hate Seattle. That's true. We hate Seattle. But Boston, man, geez Louise, they just can't. I mean, they did okay last week after that week off, but wow, they have just been, they're just struggling. And I failed to see any positives because I don't know, just what can they do? The answer is to get better players who know how to play soccer better, but they're not going to do that because they give away all their players who know how to play soccer better.
I mean, they do have an opportunity to build some chemistry because they aren't as affected by the World Cup absences as a lot of other teams are. Granted, the quality of players that they're left with also aren't as great as some of the other teams. But a lot can, if you have a team that's incredibly organized that knows exactly what they're going to be doing, you can make up for a lot.
I do agree that their chemistry can build. However, to counter, they're losing. The one player they are losing is, I think, the most important player on their team and the one who is preventing these 6-0 losses as opposed to 3-1 losses or whatever. It's really depressing that poor Listenier has got to leave her team and basically just a wide open net behind her. It's like, here, everyone.
Okay, so
Lay defense.
for Nicole, McCaffrey is going to be great with such core support. And who's their keeper now?
Exactly.
Yep.
Hey, same for Chicago. Who's Chicago's keeper?
I was just seeing that they signed. I was scrolling through all the NWSL things trying to find the attendance for all the games this year, and there was a note about a goalkeeper that they signed, and I don't remember what her name was. It wasn't someone I'd never heard of, so. I think it's probably just,
you know quite a bit about women's soccer, so the fact that you've never heard of her is telling.
I mean, I don't know all of the new players, but
McLeod's still the number 1 keep for Canada, though, right?
yes.
I'd say so, but she has been suffering with some injuries.
Yes.
I did just hear the reason that KK had been playing for Chicago when McLeod was not playing for Houston is because McLeod was expected to get all the minutes for Canada. So they wanted LeBlanc to stay sharp by getting game minutes.
Oh, well, that means a good tactic, yeah.
What's Hermione being progressive? Where were you?
Yes.
Come back,
Please come back. Jill Ellis is basically just, well, you've seen my Jill Ellis impression if you watched the show before. What were we talking about? Oh, so Western New York definitely improved. Hopefully they can keep that up. Chicago, who did Chicago play? Chicago played
Sky Blue.
Sky Blue.
That game was so boring.
So boring. It was ridiculously boring.
I don't think Sky Blue even tried to go forward the entire game.
Well, that's
It was
what
not
I've
a
been
pressure
saying.
pack one game, was it?
Same for it's Sky Blue's same story for the past 3 seasons is they have great defenders. No one is saying they don't. And they have a solid goalkeeper. They're really good defenders. They have a solid goalkeeper, so they're never going to get blown out, except for that one time Casey blown out. But they don't score. They don't score very often. And I mean, I guess that's one tactic, but I don't know.
God forbid you play the extreme wings and try to cross the ball into Nadim and see what happens. Unless she hates taking it from that velocity, I have no idea.
I mean, when Nadim is on, Sky Blue is fantastic. They can really put on a show. She's so much fun to watch. When she's having an off game, which is fine, players do, they're so boring.
The only other player they have that has shown even any remotely consistent attacking ability is Katie Friels.
Yes. I actually think I had thought about putting her in my fantasy league.
I think I did. She didn't do so hot this week.
Feast or famine, though, where you got to the periphery in your fantasy league, though.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay, well, that's actually a good choice. This is all the games, right? All 4 of them? So wait, do we think Chicago is now even with us on the table? They're the only team that has 7 points.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think they're going to be able to hold this without their national team players the next few, hopefully until the second week of July?
I think they're going to be hard pressed to do it. Press is one of the players they're losing.
Pun intended.
Well, also Box and Kolupny, losing those players from the midfield. Johnson from the back line. They probably won't have LeBlanc in goal. That's just the entire spine of your team.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. That's just way too many. And when you compare Chicago and Portland in terms of performance, the players that are performing really well for Portland are not the players that are leaving, but the players that are performing really well for Chicago are the players that are leaving. And that's a huge difference. And that's really going to impact the chemistry of their team, I think. Because Portland is really only losing. Sorry.
So I show her that her metatarsal is covering the camera partially.
Did you guys get a little bit of motion sickness?
Sorry, I waved it.
I'm going to see if I can put this back on.
Stick with the YouTube channel, folks.
The YouTube channel looks great.
I made my TV debut, my podcast debut.
Fantasy League. Let's just really quickly touch on that. I know you have a lot of math and numbers to go over.
Well, I don't necessarily have to go over them. I did them because I'm that person who, they don't get them up the instant I want the numbers, so I go through and try and calculate them all myself. And my conclusion was, I did really poorly this week.
Who would have been the number 1 player you should have had this week on your lineup?
I didn't go through and calculate everybody, but I think that Nicole Bernhardt might have been the player with the most points. I don't think anybody scored more than 20 points this week, like any individual player did.
Really low scoring, and the points that did come are players that probably most people would not have picked.
Mm-hmm.
Shia Broom.
Groom. Actually, we did have one person in our fantasy league who did pick Groom.
Good for you. And what is the comment?
The comment was that you can't interact if you watch YouTube because it's behind.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I appreciate that. But it'll be good for watching later. The framing is good. There's a Cascadia flag. It looks like just want to brag about it because for so long it looks so crappy.
It's not at a 1993 MTV angle. I'm John Stewart now. How you doing?
Oh, love it.
It's edgy. I like it.
It's harder to be a holder than anyone knows, obviously, by my growing up.
I want to bring up Liz tied. Liz, who won last week, who is a Blues fan, a Kansas City fan, tied with Karin for Fantasy League last week. And I asked her, because she couldn't be on the show, I asked her for 3 tips for making the best NWSL Fantasy League. And Rachel is going to be awesome and get that back for us right now.
Okay, so the top 3 tips are, I look at the matchups for every week, try to go on who seems to be in form. I usually go with a 3-back system no matter what, because it's always better to have more mids or forwards. That's the 3 tips.
3, 4, 3.
Thanks, Liz. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with all of those.
I think the 3-back is the trick because you've got to go in and manually change the formation, and a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, I think it defaults to a 4-4-2.
So you just got to go in and change it to. I personally run a 3-4-3 every week, but there's other options.
Can you choose wing backs or as your back 3, or do you have to choose center backs if you choose them?
Basically, they have all the players divided up into defenders, midfielders, or forwards. And if they're, I think, for example, Kendall Johnson was a defender.
It just depends on how they're classified.
Yeah.
Kendall Johnson is called a defender, so you can put her as a defender. Like the formation of the team is irrelevant when it comes to fantasy league stuff.
Yeah. And I think, especially now with all the national team players leaving, it's really important to pay attention to the matchups and really important to pay a close attention to who's leaving. For example, I'm pretty sure Ursig for Chicago will be staying one more week. And she's on the New Zealand national team. She's a very good player. If you're a fan of hers, she could potentially stay on your team because she will be here. So it's really important to pay attention to that because you don't want to fill a roster slot with someone who won't get you any points at all, no matter what.
Try as best as you can to find out some of that information because sometimes it is not easy to come by.
Yes.
For
example, Jody Taylor had knee surgery. How many people knew that? It happened like a week prior before we learned any information. Knee surgery. Not she hurt her knee. She had knee surgery. That was absolutely ridiculous to learn that. So like, I think I angry texted you about that.
You did.
Well, in major American-based sports, you'll know what the individual tendon is that they're working on. What the hell gets 3 weeks of rehab for?
Yeah, what knee surgery gets 3 weeks of rehab? Anyone? Open question to the internet.
The only
Please
guess I have is that
MCL.
they scoped out
MCL.
some bits of her
That's
knee.
without me looking, but MCL is like 2 to 4 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Even surgery? Ugh. Okay. Good luck, Jody Taylor. I really, really wish you best of luck in your recovery and doing really good, but not that good for England. Like medium good for England. Like you perform well as an individual and you boost your confidence.
Don't get out of the group stage.
But you don't get out of the group stage.
That seems like a good transition. Speaking of like angry texts about injuries.
Yes.
Tobin Heath.
Oh yes, Tobin Heath. Tobin Heath has hurt her hamstring and is now sidelined for the national team. Surgery can be minor, Nicole? Okay. I've never had knee surgery and hopefully never will. So I'll take your word for it.
Depends on the crying level, which it all will be.
Apparently it was for Jody Taylor, it's a lateral meniscus. Meniscus, that's what it was.
Thank you, Internet, for telling us that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that shouldn't be too bad.
Well, so Tobin Heath's injury came as kind of a surprise, especially since based on the timing, it said it happened like when Jamie Goldberg tweeted it. She said last week Tobin had gotten an injury, but that leads you to assume that it was in the Thorns training camp, right? So so another hamstring injury in Thorns training camp, which you brought up, it was Rachel Van Hallebeck had the same thing. That's kind of one of those things where you address the training process.
I mean, hamstrings are fairly common for soccer players because you spend so much time building up the strength of your quads. Not necessarily that you're actually doing things to act like consciously build that up, but the nature of soccer is really focused on the quads. So you're more susceptible to hamstring injuries because that muscle is weaker and gets overpowered. So you really have to focus on building the hamstrings to make sure things are equal, and sometimes it doesn't happen.
So hopefully this injury for Tobin is something she can rest and be okay with, but it's nice to see Crystal Dunn still getting the nod and being brought in, though it does kind of seem like rubbing her nose in the fact that she won't be going to the World Cup.
Well, how long do they have before official? They have early June as the stopping point for making the official roster if they had to make a move.
I don't know the date. Yeah, for some reason May 23rd is a date that is coming to mind, and I don't know if I'm thinking about that for World Cup or for something else, but I think it's around that time.
Either way, I suppose we could actually give Jill Ellis credit for making that roster decision early to allow an opportunity like this.
Yeah, exactly, and allow Crystal Dunn to stay immersed in the national team environment in case she does need to be called upon. I mean, remember, Lauren Cheney wouldn't have gone to, the Olympics in 2008, but Abby Wambach broke her leg, so she got the call. So you just got to keep, you've got to keep people in the loop and so they can keep up with training. And also a good transition to which teams do you think are going to perform the best and the worst without the national team players?
The comment from Nicole, as a Thorns fan, I'm not horribly upset that she's shuttling around before this week's match.
Yeah, it's true. I agree. As a Thorns fan, I was really concerned when I saw Tobin Heath has a hamstring injury and they're bringing in Crystal Dunn as a tweet. But when you read further into the press release, it does say that it's sort of minor and she's not expected to miss World Cup. But still, that is a terrifying tweet to read.
I think it is going to be interesting with what they're doing with Crystal Dunn because Mark Parsons tweeted that she will be at all the Washington Spirit games. So she'll be training with the U.S. during the week and then flies in for the games with the Spirit, and then we'll go back to U.S. training camp.
What a shame that she's going to be super tired and just got off a plane for the Thorns game. I'm so bummed about that. I really wish we could have had Crystal Dunn full speed. Just kidding. So excited about it. Probably
could play the counterattack and try to wear her down.
Yeah, just run her down. She probably won't even play a full 90 because she'll be airplane tired. Is that a thing? It's got to be a thing.
Well, it's called jet lag.
Jet lag.
Where's the U.S. training? Because
all the games are in Southern California. So
I was gonna say I think their training camps in Los Angeles in that area. So at least for the Portland game, jet lag is not gonna be so much of an issue.
I think
It's
we're calling
actually-
it airplane tiredness.
Okay.
It's to our detriment in a way that they're playing here. In
Yes.
that it would be
Yeah,
better
you're
if they
right.
were there for because for the airplane
In that regard,
factor.
Oh, I love it. I agree. But it will be nice. I think Washington Spirit will have just because we're talking about Crystal Dunn and that whole team, will have a tough time losing Ashlyn Harris and losing Allie Krieger. But are they really missing out anyone else? I think that's really it. I don't know that they have any Canadians of note.
Well, they have not yet this season had their Canadian of note.
Who is their Canadian of note?
Diana Matheson.
Oh.
So she hasn't played yet, but so she's not a loss for their team.
Right, they've been doing okay without her, though I'm imagining what they'll do with her, you know. Hey, Ryan! Ryan wants to know if we're screwing up. I'm going to assume his room. We just saw the preview. It didn't finish the image. If you want to know how many people tried on your underwear, the answer's 2.
Only the pink one. He also missed me dropping it on the ground.
No, everything in your room looks perfect, and we're not messing anything up, and we'll put everything back just the way it was. But yes.
Tried on the Barrow jersey. Oopsie doops.
So you can see what's up on his wall.
Oh, what's up on your wall?
Spurs.
What's up on your wall? That's a Liverpool scarf, and that's a Thorns scarf. You're welcome. I've improved your room dramatically.
No.
COYB.
So anyway, we're joined by an Everton and a Manchester United fan and another Everton fan. So this is really kind of enemy territory.
I apologize for my weekend tweets, though.
It's kind of awkward.
Still in 4th.
We can be haters as much as we want, but you still get to say that.
We beat QPR.
You beat the Queen's Park Raisins.
We did. They just
I'd
players.
rather not talk about this weekend.
Yeah.
And Fletcher playing against you first time.
Yeah. Anyway, so Washington Spirit, we think they're more susceptible to having people score on them because they're losing their goalkeeper and one of their best defenders. So that will be something they need to work on. Sky Blue losing 2. I don't even know what Kelly O'Hara is. A utility player and Christy Rampone.
Well, we know that Jill Ellis doesn't know what she is.
Exactly. Kelly O'Hara's got to be going through some sort of like quarter-life crisis where she's just like questioning every move she makes. I feel so bad for her because
Kelly here is probably the social media coordinator at this point with the few minutes she's gotten since the Algarve.
Oh, you're gonna upset some people because I know she's got like a really weird, like serious fan base. I don't understand.
So what about all the fans for Aaron Heifetz there?
I have a fan base. I freaked out when I saw him at the Seattle Kansas City championship game. He was there with Julie Foudy, and I was like, "It's Aaron Heifetz," and no one knew who he was. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Can YouTube videos?" I'm a fan. I don't know.
He does good stuff.
I like his intros before the videos. Well, he used to do them. Now he doesn't.
The city's love of Jimmy Conrad is another topic for another day. We'll be on that. We'll talk about men's side anyway.
Wait, are you serious? Because I love Jimmy Conrad.
He looks like a frat boy douche nozzle, and he acts like one too.
Whoa, really?
Sorry, Jimmy. You once favorited one of my tweets, but I'm sorry. I
don't think he watches his podcast.
Of course he doesn't. I'm gonna do it unless MLS side.
Yeah, it's true. Or like Newcastle or something, or some like random heat. Yeah, sorry, it's a whole other conversation. You're right, but it does frustrate me that they don't cover women's soccer. Anyway, so Sky Blue again more susceptible to goals because they're losing possibly 2 defenders, definitely 1 defender, possibly 2 defenders.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently, Nicole is the only living High Fits fan.
No,
girl.
she's saying that Carla is the only.
Okay, good. Because I was totally lost.
Yep.
It was guys seeing in all the videos.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
I do need to apologize to John though because I'm not good at social media, and even though I'm the social media coordinator tonight, and he did say that Sky Blue never seems to have trouble finding a goal when they play in Portland.
Oh yes, John, you are correct.
You are correct, and I'm very, very sorry for that.
Ryan, this Liverpool shit looks gorgeous on your wall. It looks beautiful. It's soft. It's kind of junk. Anyway, so Sky Blue, Washington. Who else do we think is really good? Do we think Seattle's going to really feel the national team burn? Because I don't think they are.
The only players that they are losing are they already lost Solo and Rapino.
That's it.
Those are the only players that are.
Little and Fishlock, they could actually own this entire middle section of the season.
If they play even like half as well as they did last season.
Without Hope, even.
Yeah.
Remember, they did well without Hope last season.
Well, because they didn't have her for a long time at the beginning.
I mean, they lost her for like I think 3 games or something. Either way, but like they did fine. Like they didn't lose any of those games without her.
Well, their entire back line will still be there.
Yeah.
Their midfielders will be there. Yeah. They're losing 1 forward.
It's a big reason why I wanted Steph Cox to make the roster. I like really hope that this pans out.
Obviously, Portland put all its eggs in the post-World Cup basket, but Seattle could forge themselves a lead. They played the best on the road of any team in a league where it's nearly impossible to figure out how to play all these different surfaces.
You're right. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really important thing to know how to do, and they have done it.
I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm a little scared too.
Do they have any more games at Chicago? Because they've never won at Chicago. So if they go there again, that would just be fantastic.
If we could have them play in Chicago every game, even if they're not playing Chicago. I miss you too, Ryan.
That's right.
Miss you too a lot. I hope you're having fun on the East Coast.
AO comes to town this week.
Oh, that's right.
Party in the 503.
Yes.
It'll be
Wait,
really
do we know if she's going to be here for the game?
Nicole, we need your help.
Nicole, we need your help. Zach, we need your help.
Well, she may be in attendance. I doubt Riley would throw her in.
Yeah.
He'd want to give her a break after the Bundesliga season over.
It's hard to say. You might take a player that's been playing all that time, so they, theoretically in form.
Yeah.
Especially since, who else would the Thorn start up top?
That's exotic crickets. Shh. Everyone think really hard about the answer to that question. Hannah Terry, clean your cleats. You're being called up to the first string. Oh God. Oh Lord.
I do not see a Chicago away game on the rest of Seattle season.
Oh God. Ugh. Thank you for answering, Nicole. I appreciate that. She doesn't know. It's gonna.
Yeah, if she comes into town on Saturday, she probably wouldn't play.
Maybe something you're short.
I said probably.
We have
literally no one. That's what we're talking about.
Do you think Sink will be back for the game?
I don't know. I think we're getting to the point where
no.
But Canada's been so inconsistent. It's like which players want to come back so either they have to have enough sway within the federation that they can choose whether or not they leave, or they decided that they need the player to get minutes.
Right.
Seems like that's pretty much who's been
Which
coming
is
back.
why we're not seeing Caitlin Kyle or
Why
Brianna
isn't
Wilkinson.
she
Yeah.
always been substitute?
I think since those are players that they, they don't have enough sway with the federation. Plus, they don't have the connection to Portland or anything yet, so they probably aren't fighting as hard to come back as St. Clair.
I think based on the press conference after Chicago's game, Sink seemed really motivated to be here, as often as she could. And I think that's, the true sign of a good captain. And not just the fact that I'm a really big Sink fan, but I think she did seem really genuinely like they asked her specifically about that. And she, basically said that she wanted to be here and she would try to be here if she could. So that makes me wonder if, if they have a day off, she might just fly in for it.
So if there's any player that can choose what they do, it's Christine Sinclair.
Yeah, I mean, and considering how well she's been playing, they probably want to keep that ball rolling of having her playing competitive and, and she's not knock on wood, not dealing with any injuries right now, and she's just, in good form and probably want to keep it that way. So let's hope that she's back, considering we have actually no other options. So, yeah. I do think that Portland will suffer greatly with the World Cup, but I do think that they are showing that some of the strongest parts of the squad are with players who will be here all year.
Boney and Sinead playing great, doing that central defensive mid.
Which allows Allie to float a little bit more and attack and get on the board that way.
Really makes me appreciate kind of the way Paul Riley is playing them, which is not something I would have said last year.
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest difference for me this year and last year is that the formation that they are playing actually makes sense with the players' strengths.
Yeah.
And he's having them do roles that, are what they are good at.
Yes.
As opposed to going, oh, you're really good at going forward and attacking, so I want you to sit back and hold.
Right.
I
mean, it's true, though. It's true. Look at what happened last year. And it really makes me wish for an NWSL season that isn't interrupted by national team call-ups or the World Cup or
see you in 2017.
But it's not even that, because they still have friendlies and stuff. They're still gone. They're still breaking up the organic feel of what should be just clubs staying together, or a club going out, everyone leaving for the international break.
Yeah, they had a national team game right before the semifinals of last season.
Yeah, that was
so stupid.
And in a league that U.S. Soccer is the primary shareholder, you'd think that they would care.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm hopeful that 2017, because they wouldn't have started qualifying for anything yet, because women's World Cup qualifying is not a 2.5-year affair like it is for the men.
Right.
They don't start immediately following the previous one. Right. So hopefully they won't have significant breaks for friendlies or things like that, because there just isn't anything to play toward.
Are the women's Euro on the same cycle as the men's for 2016, or would they be 2018 and start the cycle?
2013. I think I watched them in 2014 then, I guess. So then 2016,
2018.
Yeah.
So they would be in 2017.
I think it's trying for qualifying maybe.
Yeah, but most of the men's 2016 Euro qualifyings this year didn't start until September, October, the first break after the fall season, the fall winter season. So maybe there's hope. I don't know. Obviously, with the league that's now engendering so much European talent, you never know.
But maybe, it won't. The Euros at least won't be a big problem for the Thorns, because maybe Nadine gets called away. But other than that, we don't have too many other players playing in Europe internationally.
Looks like women's Euro 2017.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Nicole just said that she thought it was in 2013.
Was it 2013? I remember watching the games. Just to remember what year it was. Yeah, that was.
I'm pretty sure Nicole just told us in a really polite way it was in 2013.
Nicole's always very polite. Thank you, Nicole.
So theoretically, if the next Euros are 2017, and we would have a season in 2016 screwed up by an August to September Olympics, what the heck happens? Do they start season early, try to end it? And then obviously, I would assume European women qualifiers happen in the October to January season. Oh, that works so screwed.
It's terrible. There's no good time.
Doing a league offset from all of the others at the primary time for those things is very challenging for sure. But in the United States, there's no other time you could like logically do it.
Yeah, with the venues and everything, absolutely.
When you think about some of the cities that they're playing in, going early really may not be an option given the winter months.
Yeah, very true. Wouldn't want to play in Rochester, New York in 9 feet of snow in February.
So yeah,
It'd be fun.
you wouldn't be able to
You're like ice skating soccer.
unless you had a bunch of domed stadiums. It's about the only way you can do it.
People dome some stadiums for women's soccer. I feel like that could be possible. Let's have a
Rewatching
petition to get
'94 World
started.
Cup highlights and the fact that I didn't even remember that they played in the Pontiac Silverdome. They're in the Detroit area.
Is that domed?
Oh, it's one of the worst domes. So.
Oh.
Ugh.
There are good domes. There are bad domes.
They're all bad domes, technically.
I know, we've had that discussion.
I
What
see
is
you,
it?
University of Idaho. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. 2013. I'm just an idiot and I can't remember dates. I remember watching it in my old apartment. And I couldn't remember what year it was. Yeah, so it's going to be a problem.
There's always going to be something. I
There's
think that's
always gonna be
basic.
something.
This conversation has led us to that conclusion. There will always be something to screw up the league.
Yes, very much.
Though I don't think they will do any schedule changes for Euro 2017
No.
because the NWSL, unfortunately, I think to the detriment of the league, does not have nearly as many European players
Right,
as maybe we would like.
right. Yeah, it's true.
Hey, for that one, maybe Seattle will actually get hurt.
Hey, cool! Go Wales!
Beautiful.
Go Scotland! We love you guys. When you're not playing the United States and when your team is impacted by Seattle's roster. So Kansas City, sorry, going back. Kansas City is a team definitely that will be most impacted by, right? Like, can you think of another one? Chicago, Kansas City, most impacted by the World Cup.
Though Kansas City did well this week because they didn't have the national team players this week.
That's true, they won.
And they get to keep Nicole Barnhart,
Yeah,
Yes.
good point.
which I think that, is a big thing for teams like that.
So do we think that maybe Chicago would be number one in terms of getting shot in the leg for a World Cup?
I think losing all of the players down the center of your team probably is, even though in sheer numbers, Kansas City probably is number one.
Mm-hmm.
If you go top heavy, maybe Houston,
Yeah.
but were they really a contender to begin with?
I think of the teams that really.
John was much better and kind to me this time and sent a tweet that I can interpret. It was 2013 because that was Nadine's double PK save in the final that figured into the Balloon d'Or.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Nice mental math on that. Well, I'm looking into both cameras. All right. Okay. So, next topic, we wanted to talk attendance, right? Because we know Western New York had kind of embarrassing numbers, and I know you have some more information on that.
I know that there was a tweet by one of the soccer writers in New York saying that he thought there were far under 1,000 people at the Western New York game.
That was a tweet from a lot of people. I saw the reaction when they announced the attendance because visually on the cameras, it just looked empty. It looked like there was no one there. And there may have been people off camera. Certainly that could have been the case. But when you're watching the feed and you just see empty stands, it's just
It's a 13,000 seat stadium.
Come on.
And if you put fewer than 1,000 people in there, then there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Yeah, an empty baseball venue will still look like 17,000 people
Mhm.
out of 38 or 40, let alone
Yeah.
what they pulled in the Rochester New God.
Attendance so far this year is not promising, especially now that we go into the second part of the season without national team players.
How is Portland's? Is it up generally?
Portland is averaging just the tiniest hair under what they have the previous two seasons, but basically the exact same. They've been averaging like 13,300. Right now they're at 13,200.
Okay.
So it's right on. And we've only had the first two games and I think at least one of them was competing with a Blazers playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that will change things
Yeah.
a little bit and we'll get some higher numbers.
Mm-hmm. It just concerned me that we didn't get so many people out for the first game of the season. That's kind of the first and last games in Seattle rivalries are kind of like the 3 big games where we tend to boost those numbers by really packing in the place. Because you'll have games where there's only 11,000 people or whatever, and that kind of drags it down. But you need those big games to sort of boost it.
To go from 138 to end the previous season to under 14 was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
I think our last game last year, I don't have it here, but it was 18 something because the 19 one
Houston
was that like the only game I can ever remember the front office actually pushing and advertising.
Oh yeah, the dual alumni game.
Well, and that was MLS All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, they did a good job. I mean, look at the difference they made. I think it was a matter of just getting all the people that would have normally gone to a game, but don't go regularly because you've got you've got the 6,000 people that are going to go to every game, right? Those people, unless there's something else in their lives, but you've got those people that are going to go to every game, and then you've got the other people who kind of fluctuate and maybe don't go to every game. That 19,000, I feel like everyone sort of tried to pack the place, and I think that was a really great showing by both the Thorns organization and the fans that they really all tried.
I would like to have everyone who is watching check out Carla's. Wait, you don't have to show me. Hi again. Check out Carla everyone's feed because Nicole just tweeted a photo of the Western New York Flash, the stands.
Ooh.
But I know it won't show up very well if I try and show you that from the phone onto the camera. But please.
Yes, as we've been told, and we love hearing your feedback. Ryan and I always try to take it into consideration, and we do talk about it. We do talk about it after every podcast, and during the week we try to come up with ways that we think we can improve it. I mean, the YouTube Michael's genius webcam is one great example. We've got a microphone. We're trying to make the backgrounds better, so we're definitely taking your advice into consideration and hoping. So we won't be showing any phone pictures anymore, though. Though that is one of my favorite things to do is get super close to the camera and just go like that. Yeah.
Eventually, we may even have little signs like Women in Blazer style. But I have to be not lazy to do that. So.
I was actually thinking of making them because my background in news always makes me think of like the lower name supers, and I was thinking of making one with all of our Twitter handles, but I didn't. But maybe I will now that I've said it.
We could have our own moment of wow, where instead of having technology to cut and let you see it, we will just watch it ourselves.
That would be amazing, the reaction video. This is great.
Well, we type the link at the same time,
Yes.
and then we all watch it together.
Sneer at
Bring it
Kaylin
out.
Kyle or selfies on Instagram. Maybe.
Oh, that would be great. She tweeted a selfie out today. Sorry, Kaylin Kyle, if you're watching this, but I'm not your biggest fan.
Saw that.
Looking into both cameras, so you know I'm telling the truth. Yeah, I'm not her biggest fan.
What was the
Go
selfie of?
Thorns. Her in a bikini. Like, you can just assume what the selfie was of because it's all it ever is. It's her in a bikini or her with a dog or her in a bikini with a dog. It is one of those 3 options.
Pretty much.
Good to know.
Or what's the angle that best accentuates my cheekbone and my really terrible patent bone?
Yeah.
And we have, I think we know who her biggest fan is.
Wait, what?
That was from Nicole.
Who's her biggest fan? It's her.
Yes.
No one else has a Kaylin Kyle jersey except for maybe her dog, but she's probably bought that for her.
What about her mom?
Maybe her mom.
Doesn't her mom usually? Doesn't your mom?
This is Portland. Someone had to
My mom would have my jersey. She'd probably make me give it to her though.
I can't picture my mom ever having a jersey.
But
with anyone.
what if you gave it to her though?
She wouldn't wear it?
Would she wear it if she came to your game?
I feel like going back and forth to the camera as you're having this conversation.
Maybe.
There we go.
Any other attendance notes? Any other games of note that were bad or good?
Well, Seattle is down considerably from last season. Last season, they actually pulled a respectable number. They were averaging over 3,000, which was a big improvement from their first year at 2,300.
Star Fireworks only fit, 2,550.
They had the capacity up to 4,500
What is
because of
going
the
on?
bleachers and stuff on the other side, and I think they have some standing room open area. But right now they're at under 2,700.
Is that just what fits in that one side?
The capacity for the one side is 6,000.
Okay.
It's a 12,000 seat stadium.
Okay. Thank you.
Chicago, For Chicago, they drew fairly decently their first 2 games, and then a serious downtrend.
Oh, really?
They only had 1,400 people
Wow.
in their game this weekend.
And that was a send-off for the national team players.
That was the last game with national team players.
Wow. And considering how well they've been doing and how well they did last season,
Mm-hmm.
you'd think, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's depressing. So how well did they do the first 2 weeks? Like, significantly?
I mean, when I say okay for them, they
Right.
weren't good numbers. It was 2,300 and 2,100.
But
That's considerably above 14.
respectable. Yeah, respectable for them.
Well, but here's my thing with some of the other teams. I'm a snob because I live here in Portland, right? And I love going to Thorns games because it's really fun as a fan. Okay.
Mhm.
And it's really fun as a fan to go and get to sit in the rivers. We're all cheering and we have chants and it just goes and it goes and it goes and you never stop and you never sit down and you're standing up and you're with all your friends. And some of the other venues don't have that draw. They don't have that appeal. You might go, they went to the Seattle game last year and they just had the clapping thing. Are you serious? All you're doing is clapping? I mean, we have chants and it's really fun. And maybe that is where some of these teams that want to build their fan base, they need to get a group of loyal fans because they all have a group of loyal fans. There are people that will go. There are people with season tickets. And they need to start doing chants and try and draw other people in. It may not work in all of the other venues, but that to me is one of the best things about going to the Thorns and taking people from out of town when they come because it's an experience.
And Chicago and Kansas City fans, those are the only 2 supporters groups that I really know, and other teams may have it as well. But they do have that. There's the thing is that there's like 10 of them, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
I think at this point, every team has a supporters group.
Right.
Actually, I can't think of Houston's off the top of my head.
The Orange Brigade.
Okay, yeah. But I think every team has one. But the biggest thing, they just don't have the numbers, and they're not. I think they are getting bigger, but it's a very slow.
And it's
growth.
just depressing because you're totally right. That is the funnest part about going to the game is being with your friends and being able to burn off some steam from being at work or being at school, just being able to yell at the top of your lungs and watch the game that you love. And the fact that, you know, it's just so quiet in some of these games, it's really kind of a bummer. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason I wrote a blog post after Kansas City won the championship about how I think Kansas City deserved it because I thought that giving them this championship would mean that these really great fans that they have, the Blue Crew, these amazing fans would build, you know, they have the great foundation, they just need to build on it, you know. And I was hoping that this championship would bring those numbers into them.
Nicole did say that the only place she's been is Seattle and any attempts to get the crowd going aren't terribly exciting, thus ineffective.
Yeah.
I think marketing on so many levels between print or other media marketing to get people in the stands, or the actual decent social media marketing on the fact of SGs, sporting groups, or the actual organization would help.
Well, I know that's when the conversation about Western New York's attendance this week was happening on Twitter. A lot of people in that area were talking about the fact that there was nothing. They didn't see anything in the way of marketing by the team for the game. Even though you have a player like Sydney Leroux, who you can certainly create a marketing campaign around her.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, no, you don't have your hometown girl anymore, but in many ways, Leroux is more marketable. And they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not good at this.
At the very least, sports can be about seeing that exceptional talent do something. And Leroux is one of those people, for crying out loud.
Yeah, she's definitely more marketable, and I think she can reach out to a greater number of people.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, Abby's my favorite show as will be, but
I mean, Sydney Leroux's just Twitter, reach alone, you know.
I mean, Boss's Twitter reach.
Yes, that's a very good point. You make a great point. Sydney Leroux's dog alone. Yeah. Definitely. So, were there any other discussions we wanted to talk about? I know you brought up some good ideas.
So the only other thing was the new sponsorship deal for the NWSL and US Soccer. Copper tone sunscreen.
Love it. I like it.
I think my first thought when I saw that, I was like, that makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It's keeping the players safe. It'll keep the fans safe when they're roasting. Like this guy.
I've gotten sunburned at many Thorns games because
Yeah.
when you're standing out in that section, there's no cover. You're right in direct sunlight, and
Hopefully this means who said I'm watching you all?
Ryan.
Who said it? Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
As far as copper tone goes, I highly recommend copper tone sport, not the spray, SPF 50, real good for gingers.
That is an endorsement.
Hey me. Hey me.
Ryan says that sunburn is a rite of passage at Thorns matches, and I completely
Second
agree.
degree is not needed.
Second degree is a little overdone. That's a little, it's like medium well.
Nicole had a good comment. Speaking of that kind of thing, wasn't a TV deal supposed to be announced, or is it still, quote, coming soon?
I think it is coming soon. They did say it would be announced.
We're only like a week out from in the next couple of weeks,
Mhm.
I think is what we got. So hopefully, I'm sure it's going to be a post-World Cup thing.
Could be a semantics too of, say, maybe it's ESPN and they say we'll archive it on Watch ESPN, but we won't let you archive it on YouTube. So maybe there are not the kinks there.
Yeah, who knows? Hopefully, they
which
get
is
something.
super annoying.
Then that tends to mean that European lovers of NWSL are kind of out of the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I honestly, I realize that having TV deals is important to grow the game, but as a fan, I think it's cool just to be able to watch it on YouTube and have multiple screens open, especially since they, have so many games on at one time. They'll often have like 2 or 3 YouTube pages open at once. And I think it's convenient. If you've got something like a Chrome or an Apple TV, which is becoming so much more common these days, you just easily stream it to your television. It's just not a big problem.
No, it was just so that is actually something I want the NWSL to adjust in their scheduling, not have so many overlapping games.
Yes.
I mean, it's not that difficult, especially with the different time zones, to have games. You don't have to have all 4 games in the weekend happening at the exact same time. I mean, because then you're killing your numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, and American soccer doesn't have to dig into the rest of American sports culture where every game has to be in prime time for the sake of rights of television.
Well, especially if you're on YouTube, none of that matters.
Tier, have a 2, 3, 6, 8 o'clock game. Who cares?
Yes, if there's some overlap, if there's 2 games overlapping by an hour, that's one thing. But I think they've had of the games, overlapping, like 3 games kicking off at the same time and the other 1 hour apart from them.
Yeah. It is really annoying. I agree. As obviously if you're watching this, you are a fan and you'll watch all the games whenever they're on if you have time. Same for us. Though, and I agree, it's really annoying and it makes it really hard to watch multiple games because you have to go back and watch them. But the owner of the Chicago Red Stars tweeted something that made me look at this from a different perspective. He tweeted that it matters so much less about overlap with other NWSL games and matters so much more about overlap with say, for example, he's the Chicago guy, so overlap with Cubs games, overlaps with White Sox games, overlap with Bulls games. That matters so much more because it means that they could potentially lose people who would come watch the games for them.
Well, and Nicole points out also, she said that she can't help but be annoyed when they say that the time of the match is important to attendance, when attendance is so poor.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're
that's
not
true.
doing anything to adjust the times of the matches and stuff. The one thing I think with the stuff about all the different sporting teams, how many of those people realistically are actually going to be going to the women's soccer game?
You make a good point.
I don't know that there's some overlap in the fan bases, absolutely. I don't know if there's that much.
Right. Yeah. And also, if you're having someone who has lived in Chicago, if you're a Chicago Cubs fan and you happen to be also a fan of the Chicago Red Stars, I mean, it's not like, should I go to the Cubs game or should I go to the Red Stars game? Cubs games are like $65 and all the way on the north side of the city. Red Stars games are like $15 and all the way out in the suburbs. So it's not like a one or the other, which one should I go to type thing. Like if you're going to go to one game, you've already made those plans ahead of time. And there's, an hour and a half of travel time, a significant amount of, money. That's one ticket. We're talking about possibly $100 difference if you're taking, your kid or something. So realistically, that doesn't make sense. But I like that they are thinking about that in that way, that they would like to get more sports fans to the games.
Well, but also how many, if you're using baseball as a reference, you have 162 game season for baseball. You have a
Right.
lot of opportunity to go see the
10 home
Cubs,
games this year.
right? You have 10 home games to see the Red Stars.
Yeah.
So you need to make that if that's something you're interested in, that should be your priority.
So my question with that is, if those are people that want to get, how much advertising it, like say Cubs games, are the Red Stars doing?
Good point.
Because if you're trying to draw other sports fans, advertise at those sports fans, at those sports events. Let them know that you exist.
there are
Because I
definitely ways.
bet most of those people have no idea that there's a women's soccer team around.
Pass
Video
out
board,
flyers.
yeah.
Jesus, do anything. Do anything. Go to soccer bars in Chicago, and there are many. Go to soccer bars and put up a Red Star scarf. You know, say you'll transport people to the game. Say, you know, do anything.
Even market to the burbs if that's the desperation factor, if that's the break-even point.
Mm-hmm.
So Nicole says Karin's point dead on. Sounders and Mariners didn't play on Saturday. Still similar numbers even after Rapinoe was at the Sounders game. So that's a really good point.
Well, we also did just have a discussion about how poorly Seattle supports its sports teams, period.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my rant.
Specifically women's sports teams.
Sorry,
But-
Sonics.
No, all it's the Supersonics, it's the Mariners, it's all of them. It's not just women.
Yeah.
Seattle sucks at anything other than football.
I mean, they bring in good
I would
MLS
love to
numbers,
see
though.
the Seattle WNBA numbers in the Key Arena. That would be very interesting. Topic for another day, sorry.
Though I would like to one day, Ryan, if you're watching this, this could be a good, if we get the data for just WNBA attendance and just comparing it to maybe, you know, if there are, you know, there's a Chicago team, I think there's a Seattle team, just comparing the attendance to the women's soccer and maybe just seeing if that's a market that could potentially be tapped into. Yeah.
That would be a comparisons to WNBA, we get plus or minus. Plus is that this iteration of the league, of a women's league in America, has the backing of someone who actually theoretically has some money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very positive comparison to WNBA. On the other hand, WNBA and attendance figures from certain markets that I've seen did not really make a break-even point for like a decade. So how do you rectify those situations? Do you do what we keep wanting in our minds to have, backing of prominent organizations or prominent funders, have another MLS backing or whatnot, or do you just kind of handle every other active approach like marketing, like we just talked about? Be really interesting to see. God hope we can get through this season.
Maybe it's a team by team thing and how you go through and market.
I think, each team's in a different situation, so they do have to approach it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the teams are in areas with a lot of other options.
Yeah.
And so they need to try and break into a market that is possibly oversaturated. Other teams are just out in the middle of nowhere, and so nobody wants to go out there.
Yeah. It's tough. Chicago.
Yeah, St. Benedict, who really wants to be all that way?
My
your pick.
my mom lives so it's like Chicago, my mom in the suburbs, and then Benedictine is way even further out in the suburbs. It's like another 40-minute drive, and we're already starting in the suburbs when we go out there. So it's rough. It is rough. And, yeah. Terrible placement for
Get all the drunk NIU kids to road trip out there. I don't know.
I think shuttle buses would be a good idea. They do that for the fire.
Yeah, I've taken one of those shuttle buses. You took the train like basically to the end of the line, and then the shuttle bus out to Bridgeview.
Yeah.
Or,
It's
I don't know, tell all the people in DeKalb, hey, we don't have radon in our water here. Why don't you come stay there for us?
Okay. Anything else, guys? Final NWSL FL tips?
Ask me who I put as my captain and don't have them as your captain.
Well, Kristen Press isn't playing this week, so
I have Captain Kim Little. She scored like 6 points that week.
Ugh.
I think I captained Allie Long, the week she scored 2.
nice.
So you really don't want. Kristen Press. This was my best week for my captain.
Wow. Who would you captain this coming week with everyone being gone?
I'm leaning towards Nicole Barnhart, considering the fact that Kansas City plays twice.
That's a good point.
And they play Western New York in both of those games.
So Western New York is not very good, as we have established. They're getting slightly better, but still are not good. They don't have Sydney LaRue, so Nicole Barnhart seems like a solid choice.
Fishwalker Little could be useful playing away at Sky Blue.
I definitely think that they will do well. Just the idea of having 2 games, though, is, if there's ever teams that play multiple times, I almost always would captain one of those players just because the potential is so much more.
Very true.
It can also go horribly wrong.
Huh.
If the players don't do well, you can end up doubling even worse numbers.
So, yes. Okay. All right. Well, Ryan will be back next week. Hopefully, we're thinking, according to Karin's calculations, Zach might be the winner for next week. So hopefully we can do some sort of Skype interview or tape something or something that's convenient and play it. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to that. We'll see when the final numbers come out, hopefully soon, and we'll report back.
Should have a recap on the women's national team game on Sunday.
Yes! Watching it at these 2 people's home out in the burbs, so that'll be fun. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try. Oh, no, that's just showing you. That's just showing you.
Is this thing still on?
I think it's off. I don't know.